From Los Angeles, it's Unmaking Movies, the only screenwriting podcast that goes there. With your host, Andrew Blumenthal. Now let's start the show.
In today's podcast, Unmaking Movies welcomes Snow White screenwriter Erin Cressida Wilson.
This was my father's kingdom, a place of fairness, but the Queen changed everything.
Take him away!
Your Majesty,
What did you say?
the people need some kindness.
You know, I really don't remember you being this opinionated. Magic mirror on the wall. Who is the fairest of them all?
Famed is thy beauty, Majesty. But a lovely maiden I now behold.
I look at you, and I just want to be the fairest of them all.
The Queen is evil. You must flee into the woods.
My parents always said this forest was a magical place. Hello? Is there anybody here?
It's a human.
What did you think I was?
Nothing.
Ghost.
You'll be safe from the Queen here.
The Queen stole everything from all of us. I'm gonna need your help. It's time to restore our kingdom.
Waiting on a wish, holding out for someday, hoping somehow, some way, there comes a miracle.
Find Snow White.
I close my eyes and see the girl I meant to be.
This is our kingdom, and now we're here to take it back.
You were saying.
I'm sorry, my dear. Did I frighten you?
Hello, how are you?
How are you doing, Andrew?
I'm doing excellent. So I interviewed you in 2016.
I remember.
It was a terrific interview.
Yeah, I
And
liked it a lot.
yeah, and what's interesting is we were talking about Girl on a Train and we're talking about Emily Blunt's British accent and what was the thinking in retaining that as her character in the movie. And you had the best answer ever. You said it really added to her feeling of isolation, and she's just a terrific actress. And you said that you live in New York and you can go a whole day without hearing, American English spoken, and how you hope that we retain that diversity. And I said, is that a little commentary about the upcoming election? And you said, I'll let you read between the lines. And I was so happy you said that. And look how we've unfortunately, progressed since then.
Yes.
But I do
Yeah.
wanted to call back how I
Interesting.
appreciated
What
it.
was the year again? 2016?
2016.
So I think that
So-
was about either the year or the year before I started Snow White.
Really? Okay, so this had a very nice gestation.
Yeah, I mean, I may be completely exaggerating. But let's see. 5, 19, 18. No, it was right before I started. Yeah. It was a long
Wonderful. Well,
gestation, yeah.
that actually feeds into my first question. I want to sort of hand you the talking stick and ask you all about how you got involved. What are your thoughts on the process? What was your collaboration like with others? Anything you want to tell me about the process from getting there to here?
Okay. Nice open question. I mean, the producers of The Girl on the Train, Jared LaBeouf and Mark Platt, asked me to write Snow White. So we had just finished one film. They asked me to write this film, and I, of course, said yes. My child had been watching Snow White on repeat for years and years and years. So I really wanted to do this for him, but for the younger me and for children. The other thing was that Pasek and Paul were signed on to do the music, the songs. And Justin and Benj were very, very dear to me. I loved their work. They were pretty busy with Greatest Showman at that time, and they had Dear Evan Hansen just starting on Broadway. And so I started, because they were pretty busy without them at first, and then got heavily involved with them for a couple of years in rooms in LA and New York, because it's a musical. So everything was, I mean, the songs are the script. The script is the song. They are completely married and dovetailed together. And I loved working with them. And we worked very closely with Jared and with Mark on lots of long meetings. And before that, though, when I had the time alone, I let myself think about what came to me as images that spoke to me of how to massage and expand and dive deeper into her Snow White's persona and her journey. And I was struck by Dopey. And I thought, Dopey doesn't speak. And, we know Dopey doesn't speak, but we never think, why does Dopey not speak? So I did a little bit of Harpo research. I was looking in the Marx Brothers a lot to inform Dopey and his friends. But also I was just trying to figure out about what's going on with Dopey. And it came to me that, and to us later in the room, that that he is disenfranchised the way that Snow White is, that his friends are mean to him. They beat up on him. Snow White is being beaten up on by her stepmother. And her voice is being silenced, not literally, but with Dopey, it's literally being silenced. So I felt that relationship was core to what I wanted to find in the story. And that's why I also, at that time, we were trying to figure out, like, how do you take a song like Whistle While You Work and make it work now? And one of the things is that my mother taught me how to whistle when I was young. And so it came from that. It came from, like, wouldn't that be a cool way to have Dopey start to express himself through the whistle of Whistle While You Work? So that became a lesson from Snow White to Dopey. And in that way, she also kind of learns, oh, I can also speak up, which she eventually does. There was a book that was given to me by Disney and by Mark and by Jared at the beginning called The Fairest One of All, I think. And it's an incredible book that goes into the history of the making of the original. And so I studied that a lot, because there were, as in any development of any script, there were many things that were considered, that months were spent on, years were spent on, and then they were scrapped, but they led to the next iteration of what was created. And some of those things were, for instance, the mirror, the magic mirror. In one of their ideas, they had the mirror chasing the queen and shattering. And so I knew immediately, I thought, what does that mean? What can we do with that? And I thought, well, she needs to be swallowed by her vanity, i.e., swallowed by that mirror. So one of the first images I had was that at the end, she should break the mirror. She's out of her mind. And I would like it to shatter at her and then take her back into the mirror where she belongs. So that was one of my first thoughts. Another first thought was, why is her hair short like that? It became a punishment that the queen cut her hair off so she wouldn't be as pretty, so she wouldn't be competition, and to put her in her place and clip her wings. And so that's how
A
we got that.
violation, really. It was an act of violence, the way I saw it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's pretty harsh. I think also, and I liked that about it. It made it clear how alone she was and how mean this queen was to her. Another in the original, they had a soup song at one point that they actually did some animation on, and building the bed song or something. They were learning to build beds with her, and there was just these things that I didn't want to bring back, but there was a feeling of her teaching them how to sip soup, because they were doing it loudly. So the sipping was the song, and it was the rhythm of the song. And so that's kind of also how I got to, and how we in the room got to her teaching them how to clean, because there was a lot of this bed making and stuff that ended up not in the original. Also in the original was a thought, and it didn't come to fruition in the animated film, but that the prince be caught in the dungeon by the queen, and that there be a flood and he escape. So I wanted to use that. And so I did. And so I brought him into the dungeon. I did have a flood in one draft. I wish we could have used it, but I think it worked out great. And then there was the question of who is this guy, and what is this kingdom? Because the kingdom is forgotten in the animated, and I wanted the kingdom to be a character, and something that she didn't forget. So the kingdom becomes a big part of this. And the prince, I mean, I didn't want anybody in tights, frankly. I just that was like my flippant remark that I kept saying. I don't want a guy in tights saving her. And I don't mind her being saved. And she is saved by him, by the way. They save each other. But I wanted him to be a character that I think Andrew really developed beautifully with Rachel. A real human who is flawed, who is angry, and who learns to love again, who remembers what life was like back when the queen didn't take all the money and all the jewels.
Yeah.
And the jewels
definitely
also, go ahead.
No, it definitely had a beautiful arc.
Yeah.
And it was an unconventional love story, and it really worked well.
Thank you. I think it does too. I love them. I think they're beautiful together. And the how in the mine, the Dopey and his friends are like, they're mining jewels or diamonds. And I wanted to connect that to the other land, which is, beyond the forest to the normal land, the normal fairy tale land.
2 furlongs away.
What?
2 furlongs away.
Yes.
That's when.
And yeah. And so, it ended up being that they're working for the queen, but they don't even know it. In a weird way, they don't even know what they're financing with their work. And so those are some of the things. A lot of it had to do with finding origin stories. And by finding the origin stories, it then led to, what is the story? How can the story be authentic to the original and still grow? And I find the film tear-jerking. I don't know if it's just me, but I find it very moving.
Cathartic, I felt.
Yeah.
Because she goes through some shit, Snow White.
Yes.
And that's one thing that was interesting to me, is I heard that the director, he said that, one of the main sort of points of the plot was that it was going to be a story about her journey of realizing that she has the power to be a leader. And, I was wondering, were you given some broad outline brushstrokes, some marching orders with that in mind? Or was that something
No.
that you guys came up with autonomously, and it seemed to dovetail with your collective vision?
Well, I was given the mandate that we keep Whistle While You Work and Hi Ho, and Silly Song. And other than that, nothing. And then, I worked on it, and then we developed it in the room, and came up with the story.
Excellent. And
Yeah.
you mentioned the collaboration with the songwriters,
Mhm.
and so I wanted to know, especially there were some new songs as well.
Mhm.
So were you given, or were you in the room when they were composing the songs, some semblance of what the lyrics might be? Because while those songs are being sung, I presume you had to write the action that would go along, the
I
visual
mean,
that would go
it's
along
not
with that.
quite that simple.
Okay, so
It's
break
more,
that
no,
down.
I mean, the songs are the script, and the script is the songs. So it was very collaborative, and it was in the room, and it was, I mean, I actually, Benj would ask me, just start writing what she's thinking, just write. And so I just write, and hand them over the sheets of paper. And, it was very informative for him to write the lyrics in that way, to have that. So, I mean, the songs move the action along. They speak subtext, but they can't just be sitting there as a song. That's why the Whistle While You Work, I mean, it had to have a purpose. I had to have a character purpose, and the character purpose is to get Dopey and his friends to stop being disorganized, hate one another, get them to a peaceful place where they learn to clean up and work, and then fall in love with each other again, and fall in love with her. So many things happen in that song. So the songs have to be active in that way. And of course, in the love song that's out in the garden, they fall in love. They realize they love each other. They need each other. They're not going to walk through this forest alone. They don't need to. They found each other. And so that happens in the song. So you feel it coming up in the script, but it blooms in the song. So it's not just about like action so much as really dovetailing.
The movie opened, it grabbed you right away, and it was very creative and visual. You had the storybook, which was a still image, and that became animated, and that turned into live action. It was a tremendous kickoff, and then narration sort of gave it a thematic through line. So tell me about like that opening and the decision to use narration, because I feel like it was the right call to make. Was that always a foregone conclusion that you would have that voice, or was that a decision you made later? Tell me about that consideration.
I think that was one of the first things I wrote. Was storybook opens up onto a snowy evening, and I wanted her to be named Snow White because of the snowy evening night. And yeah, it was always the case. I took my cues from the actual original, but also I don't think it had voiceover, but I think that Beauty and the Beast did, or something that I was ripping off. I can't remember, but a couple other Disney films had it, and I really liked it. And it really it held your hand. Like I always say when I teach screenwriting, take our hand firmly. Let us know we're in firm hands and take us. And there's something about voiceover, especially for a storybook, which is read aloud to children, that you want to start with that story, and they're used to it, by the way, as we know. Like they're like, oh, I know what that's like every night with my parents. And so I think it really helps children enter the story.
And one thing that I love that you retained was Snow White's communion with all the forest animals. I think there might have been riots in the street if you didn't, but it was just part of the tradition. So I want to know a real specific granular question.
Yeah.
When you're describing those scenes,
Yeah.
Are you actually like name calling? There's rabbits and birds and turtles and hedgehogs, or do you just say generally she's surrounded by creatures?
I mean, I said animals. I didn't say hedgehog, and I'm in love with the hedgehog. I love the way the animals are done. I'm in love with them. I think they're almost the key to entering, they are the key to entering the new world. Um, they charm us so much, and they charm her. So yeah, there were animals in the original. I took full passages and sequences from the original film. So there might have been a turtle in there and some birds and a deer who brings her over to the house. But they did some beautiful work, specificity with the animals that I loved. That surprised me and made me so happy. But yeah, I mean, I think she reaches out and pets at the beginning the deer. But I thought that there was a lot of beautiful invention.
Hmm. And it was seamless. Like, it didn't feel like she was, you know, heading the air. In fact, they sort of matched the action really. I don't know if, what kind of
Oh, good.
technology is used, but
I don't 100% either, no, but really good, really incredible people that worked on this film, hundreds and hundreds of them. If you keep and you stay till the end, it's an immense number of people put so much energy into this and so much love.
And what about this movie that's a question that's similar to your collaboration with the musicians? The actions when there was group choreographed dance moments, did that I know Mandy Moore choreographed those scenes. Did you have to have some kind of, congress with her to make sure like the intros and outros led to that dancing action? How does this something like
No,
that
that
work?
was at that point, Benj and Justin took over. I mean, they were extremely involved because they wrote the music. They were very involved in that. Whereas I was not, because that's not my shtick.
What's so great is like you couldn't tell that there was like all these disparate groups because it all sort of gelled together. I mean, how
I
often?
love the choreography is my favorite dances in Whistle While You Work. I love it very much. And I'm in love with Dopey. I just can't help it.
There was the first time we saw him, there was a girl behind me, maybe 3 or 4 rows. I hear, "Oh, cute!"
Ugh,
So I
cute.
wanted to personally convey that to you.
Oh,
So
thank you. I mean, the children's reactions are so cute. They go, when certain things happen that I kind of don't want to spoil. And then they get scared and they're like, don't do it, with the apple. It's so cute.
it's cute, but it's dark. I mean, Disney,
Yeah.
that's what I
Well, it's
salute
cute
them.
that it brings out reactions.
Mhm.
That's what I think is adorable.
Okay, I'm gonna ask a question. This one is a little bit more involved. The seven bandits, were they like always a consideration that they would be there as well? Was there a symmetry with the seven dwarfs, 7 and 7? Tell me about that. Because it was a really each one of them, my God, their facial expressions, they were like such a rogue bunch of ragtag characters. I love them. So, tell me about how they
I
came about.
actually don't remember saying 7 in the script, but it was always meant to be bandits that worked with Jonathan as the only humans in the forest, in the magical forest, and hoping to fight for the king and against injustice.
They were a terrific element, a terrific counterpoint.
You like that? Oh, good.
Well,
I
I mean,
I thought they were great. I love these actors.
Yeah, they were like they had a sort of a gruff quality, like a little rough around the edges, you know. But
Yeah, and I think it's really fun that they were a band of theater folk.
yeah,
I I thought that was a little self-referential in a nice way.
I agree. All right, well, I want to be mindful of your schedule, and I think it pretty much well, one question that's sort of a costume question. I bet you haven't been asked a costume question, but the when at the end when Snow White approaches the castle and has her final confrontation with the evil queen, and she's wearing that beautiful red cloak, and I just thought it was that some kind of cross pollination with Little Riding Hood, or just completely um out of your hands or coincidental, or am I seeing things that aren't?
I'm fairly positive, I could look it up, that I had that in there um for reasons that were simply not explained in my head. I just saw her as coming forward cloaked, I would say, hidden
Armed for
a bit.
battle.
Yeah, and hidden, and that then she would, reveal that she was Snow White. And that's what I recall that I wrote. I'm kind of looking at it right now. Um, I don't know if I'll get it, but yeah, I'm not going to find it right now. But it was always meant to be rather dramatic. Her
Yeah,
entrance.
it
Yeah.
was it was amazing.
And mysterious and maybe a little scary.
Yeah, it was severe. It had a sort
Yeah.
of like a severity to it.
Yeah. It
Um,
wasn't funny anymore.
well, congratulations on such a terrific film.
Thank you.
I
Thank
hope
you.
that the next interview isn't another 12 years from now, but
I hope
you
so
know,
too. And
terrific.
thank you very much. Your questions are great. I mean, they were, I was able to speak.